All right, so welcome back to Ignoring Conventional Approaches. We're reading this chapter from U Squared, and it's going to surprise you as to how it's going to be thinking and how it's going to be moving you and your mindset about it. And I have a really, really cool picture at the end to show you how these athletes think, what kind of mindset they're in. I've been watching the Olympics over the past 2, 3 days, and it's just incredible the kind of thinking that they are, how much they've achieved. So let's look at this. I am on page 11 and ignoring conventional approaches. That's where I am. And let's go through it, see what it says. Ignore conventional approaches. Get ruthless about trying something different. Ricochet if you are trying to climb over the wall. Open a door and walk through if you're pushing against the river. Try going with the flow. Ordinarily, we achieve conventional growth because we think along conventional lines. We experience reasonable performance gains because we rely on reasonable approaches. We find ways to make modest improvements in our level of success because we go looking for nothing more. Quantum leaps require you to abandon the status quo. Instead of once again trying what you have always done, maybe with even more intensity and determination, ignore the usual. It's not common. We usually don't do that. We usually do what everybody else does. 90% of the people follow what everybody else is following, what everybody else is doing, because that's the road already traveled. Well, you want to travel the road that's less traveled. You want to go where there's no traffic. You want to go where there's like fresh new ideas. U square requires an abrupt change in behavior. And for that to happen, the thinking has to change. Look for a paradoxical move. For example, consider reversing your field. Try being illogical. Ricochet. If you're trying to climb over the wall, open a door and walk through. If you're pushing against the river, try going with the flow. Use finesse instead of effort. You must do something new. And these ideas will come from the creative process, okay? The tendency when you stall out or begin to level off in your performance is to go back to the basics and do what you do best. But doing what you do best can be the worst thing you could do. It really doesn't matter how well you can do something if it is the wrong thing to do. Faith in the familiar sets the trap. That's tricky, huh? Faith in the familiar sets the trap. And you spring it when you reinvest yourself in what logically seems like it should work, because it usually worked in the past. To make a quantum leap, you've got to break out of the rut where you've been running. Second guess your routines. Overcome the addiction to your oldest methodology. Set a new pattern. It's incredible. What's it telling you to do so you can get this creative process working, so you can get this moving towards you. If the things you're doing have quit working, stop doing them. Focus on what works. If you'll just quit what you've been doing instead of dodgily doing it harder, you at least create an opportunity, some white space to do something. Because that's how people go insane. They keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over again, and they're doing it well, but they don't get new results. So if you want new results, you're going to have to shift. You're going to have to shift your thinking, shift your actions, but otherwise you won't get new results. But if you readjust your thinking, you're going to create the space that they talk about, the white space to do something else. Because again, we're talking about a quantum leap. We're not talking about an incremental. If you're doing like a process systematic view, like to improve in industries, usually it's a step by step. And we do this, we get this, we do this, we get that. But that's not how new things are created, like, you know, the new iPhones and the iPods and the iPads and the, you know, all these new technologies and going to Mars and blah, 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 right? These are way different thinking that you have to think, you know, first principle thinking. Quantum leaps come when you seek the elegant solution. So look for an approach characterized by simplicity, precision, efficiency, neatness. It won't be as complex or time-consuming as your present struggle. Overall, it will be less demanding of your energies and emotions, and it probably will not be familiar to you. And this is how these ideas will come to you. Once you start studying this, that's how this is based on, you know, systematic study, elite mentorship, and accountability, things will open up. Ideas will come. Where do ideas come from? Simple ideas or genius ideas. This, what he's talking is U square called for a fresh perspective, a deft move, a path of less resistance. There is a way you can do more with less. And that's the beauty of this. Is the idea is to not to work hard. The idea is not to push. You do have to show up. You do have to make a decision. You do have to persist. You do have to take responsibility. You do have to go. You can't go in the opposite direction and think you're going this way. You know, if you're in Detroit, you're going to Chicago, and if you go in the opposite direction, you end up in Canada instead of Chicago. If you're in Detroit, you're going to go to Tennessee, and you go north instead of south. Guess what? That's wrong, right? So you have to have an organized plan. You have to be working in the right plan. And I like how he talked about it, ignoring conventional approaches. This is to achieve that next level. Faith is in the familiar sets the trap. So what line triggered you in here? What idea got you to relax and think about, maybe I could do some things differently? Because that's the whole point. The whole point is to get you to open up, relax, and see if you can get some ideas towards your life, towards your business, towards your hobbies, towards your fun. It's not just about anything specific. I don't know what it's about for you, but for every one of us, it's different, right? So, for example, last night when we were discussing on the weekend where we get together, the self-confidence formula, some people got really good ideas towards themselves and towards their school and towards their degrees and towards the companies that they work for, because that's how they got inspired to show up. One guy was a teacher, one lady was from Toronto, one lady was from the South End, somebody was from Guatemala. So it all depends what you're looking for. So this is going to help you build that confidence that you need to start doing things in a different way, to start thinking at a much higher level. And that doesn't mean you're better than others. It just means you're thinking creatively. See, most people don't take the time to think. No, we think we're thinking. When we're watching TV, we think we're thinking, but we're not, right? So let's take a look at that. So there was one more thing I wanted to show you at the end here, as we're getting close to this part of the chapter, is to think of this. Think of these Olympians who achieved some things way beyond anybody else, right? So as I was watching some of the Olympics this weekend, and I love the swimming part and the gymnastics, and this was on the board, and look at the difference, like in the number of gold medals. And now that's not the best way maybe to measure performance, but it is one of the ways. And you could see, Michael Phelps, like he's at 23 gold medals. Like, he's so far off from the rest. Most people have got 8, 9, 9, 9, 9, maybe 8, maybe 7, maybe 5 medals. He had 23. Now, I bet you if you ask him what it is, he will tell you it's thinking. He will tell you it's creative mind. He will tell you it's mindset. It's thinking beyond what common sense would allow. The reason people climb to that next level because somebody else has done somewhere closer. And this is how you have to think about it. Like, how far can you go? How far can you achieve? I bet you a lot of these Olympians now are looking at, wow, if Michael Phelps could do this, I can do that too. And I bet you some of them in a few years will get there. But you can see there's a remarkable difference between where he's at and this is just one example, right? You can bring the same example from golf. You could bring the same example from tennis. You can bring the same example from whatever. But one of the things that each and every one of them talks about is this serenity, this calmness, this thinking, this mindset of like an Olympian mindset for the leadership that you want to be at, and you want to become that leader in your field. You want to become the best at what you're doing. Now, with that, if you want this self-confidence front, with that, reach out and I'll share it with you. And I look forward to sharing with you the next chapter. Next chapter is going to be think beyond what common sense would allow. That's going to be the next one. Think beyond what common sense would allow. Well, hopefully you're enjoying this. I know I am. And I'm looking forward to continuing to read this as we've been doing. And it's being documented. And hopefully people across the world will be able to see this. And that's my way of giving back to everybody that perhaps needs this, because somebody's searching for this information and it's now out there available. All right. Ciao. Thank you and talk soon.